Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Depending on where you are in this world, God bless you. This is Gloria White coming to you from Utah, USA. Today we're going to do a couple of things. First, I was just going to tell you that today I had a doctor's appointment and I was running late, and so I didn't have time to brush my teeth. So I grabbed my toothpaste and my toothbrush, and out the door I went. I shoved it in my purse and out the door I went. Well, I got down to the bus stop and I thought I had missed the bus. So I called the number to see what time is the next bus coming. And it said it came at 2:18, 2:17. And I'm like, oh, I hope I didn't miss it. Maybe it's running late. It was running late. It came at 2:20. Anyway, but while I'm waiting for the bus, I'm thinking, oh, my teeth. I really need to brush my teeth. Of course, I'm not going to use toothpaste. I have no water to rinse my mouth. But I put my toothbrush in my mouth and I'm brushing my teeth. And people are driving by and they're looking over and they're watching me brushing my teeth sitting at the bus stop. And so I'm brushing all my teeth. And I get done and I, whack it on the arm of my wheelchair, so you know how you can get the liquid out of the brush, right? And then I dropped it. Like, okay, well, I guess that's the end of that. And so I got some new toothbrushes today. I like the medium toothbrushes. I find that the soft ones just are not stiff enough to get, things off of your teeth like I want it to feel when I'm done brushing my teeth. And the soft ones just kind of go over the top of the plaque and don't really get it off and remove it. So with a medium toothbrush, for me, I find it keeps my teeth a lot cleaner. And so I picked up this set and I think, wow, they look pretty cool. Now, I don't know what I've done with my glasses, but I've got my trusty magnifying glass. So it says, wider smile begins with your first brushing. So then it's like in French or something. And they're really interesting little toothbrushes. I've never seen any made like this. But let me take it out and show you. Now, the brand is Colgate, and this is what it says about them. And so, let's see, you buy things and they belong to you. And so then you try to open the package and you're like, yeah, okay, I bought it, I paid for it, it's mine now. Can I please have it? Please let me have my toothbrush. I don't know. It's looking like maybe right here there's a place to open it. I tell you, when you're young, you can open things. You don't need a tool. As you get older and you start losing all your strength, you're going to find that you need like maybe a pair of pliers or a screwdriver or a pair of scissors or a knife to get into things. How interesting, huh? So I'll show you the red one because red's like my favorite color. So this isn't exactly red, but it's close enough. So it has these teeth here, and they're like these white parts are like little pieces of rubber. So, and then the bristles feel like they're going to do a great job. But what I thought was interesting is here on the other side, I don't know if you can see that, it's got like a little brush for your tongue. I usually brush my tongue with the brush, and then, some of them, if your hand is wet, they'll be slippery, and hard to hold. They have this great little non-slip grippy thing here on the handle. And it's shaped, it's like ergonomically correct. Look. I'm like, well, they put some thought into this one. I guess it was worth $5.50 for the two of them. And so, anyway, I'm very proud of my toothbrush. I needed a new one anyway. But I dropped that one on the ground and I looked at it and I thought, oh, if I pick that up, I'm not going to put that in my mouth ever again. So I left it there. And so, let's see, what else was I going to tell you? I read that prayer to you. And then I wanted to tell you about the toothbrushes. Oh, and I haven't bought any new clothes. I did buy this jacket, so that's not true that I haven't bought any clothes in 3 years. I did buy this little jacket, and it was on clearance through Walmart website, and it was $10. But I really like it. But I want to tell you guys, I am not freezing in my house. I am dressed warm, so I don't have to worry about the heater in the house, because it uses a lot of gas. And back at the beginning of the summer, the way my unit works is the water from the hot water heater is pumped through pipes in the ceiling and comes down into this air conditioning unit right here. Wrong way. There. That's the air conditioning unit. And it's also the heater. So the warm air, the hot water running through the coils is what heats up the air that comes out of the vents. Well, I went out to check the hot water heater because I got a $48 gas bill. And I'm like, oh no, and this is the summertime. It's not even winter. That's Annie drinking some water. So I went out to the hot water heater and it was set up on high, so I turned it down to low. And then I had the maintenance man come and turn off the water from circulating through the ceiling, because each time it's circulating, it's cooling it off. And so it gets back to the hot water heater, and the hot water heater kicks on and it heats it up again. Then it's sending it through the ceiling because it's like in ready mode all the time. And so he turned that off. And my next gas bill was $10.68. And that was with the $6.50 charge that they charge just to get the gas to your house before you use any of it. Not even itty bitty of a thermal unit. It's $6.50 plus the local tax and the state tax and the county tax. Well, they put all those taxes on there, but anyway, it was like my gas bill was like $1 something. It was amazing, the difference. And I'm not cold. I'm comfortable. I have on a pair of sweatpants, and I have my little hat, which 65% of the heat in your body goes out through the top of your head. And then I have on a t-shirt, and then I put my little jacket on, which is Sherpa, and it's kind of warm. It's really comfortable warm. So don't worry, I am not cold, and I will not have the maintenance man turn that heater on until the forecast says it's going to get below 50. Now at that point, I will turn the heater on to 50 for my dog. I'm not going to turn it on for me, but I'm going to turn it on to 50 for my dog. And so that the things in my house won't freeze or, suffer any kind of damage because they froze. Anyway, just think about ways that you can save money. We're coming into a season where gas for home heating is in question. Is there going to be enough? Will it last all winter? Are they going to do rolling blackouts with the gas? Are there going to be days where you go to put your heater on and it doesn't come on? I don't know how they're going to do that because, you have a pilot light. So if they turned the gas off, then they'd have to go to everybody's house where they turned the gas off and go and light it, because you're not supposed to relight it yourself. They have to come out and relight it, or you get in trouble anyway, for safety's sake. So they're not going to exactly turn it off, but they're going to make it so expensive that it'll be almost impossible to use it. So if you have single paned windows, get a heavy clear shower curtain and cut it out to go over the window and around the edge of the window frame, and staple it along the window frame all around the window, so that you don't get any cold air coming in from an old window, a single window pane. And that's going to keep a lot of heat in your house and a lot of cold out. Check around your front door. Sometimes there's a strip there and it gets worn out, or it's got tears in it. But it's pretty easy to replace those. They have some that are magnetic, but that would only work on a door if it's a steel door. And so then you would just pull it off. It's just like taking a magnet off your refrigerator and then put it back, put the new one on. But if you have the one that is like a wooden door, where you have an adhesive on the back of a piece of foam, then that you're going to need to get that off. And you'll need to Google how to get that glue off. I can't remember how to do it. But if you can pull it off and it all comes off clean, then you should be good to go to stick the new piece on there, so that that part of the door seals. Now down at the bottom of your door, the threshold, there is usually a threshold piece that you can get, and it has a piece of rubber. The whole plate might be about that wide. And then it's a piece like this that's rubber, and it's raised up so that when the door closes, let's see. And from the side, it would look like, okay, oops, dropped it in a bowl of water. Okay, so anyway, the threshold plate would look like this. This is metal, this is metal. Even underneath this rubber here is metal. But if you look at it from the side, it would be like this. And this part, this raised up here, is where your door would come and sit over the top of that. And it creates a block that keeps the air from blowing in and out underneath your door. So you should check your doors. If you have a door in your house that has glass in the top of it, and it's single pane, and it's divided lights, which means like there's, the back door may have like 1, 2, 3, 9 pieces of glass in there, and it's divided by the muttons. Anyway, it's called lights. Anyway, if your door is like that, you can still use the piece of plastic and put over that glass and staple it on. Or you can get a piece of double-sided tape and tape it on around that, on the door. that creates an extra barrier for the cold around your back door if you have one of those doors that has the glass panes in it. And so that will help. Now for your windows, you can check and see if you have single pane windows. Go outside your windows and look and see. There's something that's called caulking, and you put it on, and it actually holds the window pane in the window frame for each piece of glass. And so you might see like pieces like this long popped out missing. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take all that old stuff out and first go to the hardware store and make sure you can get the stuff to replace that. And so if you can replace that, that's great. Otherwise, when you go inside your house, then you're going to want to get that plastic over the window. Now, if you don't feel comfortable with the plastic because you have kids, I got the extra thick shower curtain. And so even if a small child came in here and stuck their face to it, it would not. They couldn't suck it to their face. It couldn't suffocate them. There's no way, it's too thick. So if you have little children that can get into the covering on your windows, make sure that plastic is thick enough that they can't suck it to their face and suffocate themselves if they get in there. You know how kids are. They get into everything. I mean, turn your back for 2 seconds and they're in it. Don't touch that. You turn around and you come, I asked you not to touch that. Why did you touch that? I didn't touch that. Okay. Oh, sure. Whose fingerprints are those? You know how kids are. You gotta love them, though. Anyway, so we as adults have to think about these things. We can't just go around doing things nilly-willy. The other thing you can do is for your windows is you can go and get what's called foam. No, it's foil-backed styrofoam insulation board. Now you can get it, that's a 1/4 inch thick. It's like styrofoam, like a styrofoam ice chest. And on the back it has a piece of foil. Now you can cut that to fit a window. Now, and it comes in 4 feet by 8 foot sheets. Comes in different thicknesses. And you can decide what you can afford, because there's a cost factor in all of this. So whatever you can afford, anything you put in there is going to be an improvement and help keep down your gas bill, your heating bill, however it is you heat, electric, gas, even a wood burning stove. You know what I mean? You want to hold that cold out and the heat in. So, but when you cut that board, the little balls of the styrofoam will come out and they'll get all over the place and make a mess. Just take a piece of duct tape, or even clear packing tape is what I used on mine, and just put it across along the edge. Say this is the board. I just put it on here like this. I just put it on like that on it. So it would cover up the edge and keep those little balls from falling out all over the place. And then when I bring it in and out of the window, there's no mess. You can also make duct tape handles to get it in and out of the window if you want. And I suggest that you try to fit it to the window as best as possible. Now, cutting it is a different thing. I started off trying to use a Ginsu knife, which is a really sharp knife. And it was just like sawing it, and it was just creating more of the little balls to come off. So I got a pair of scissors and I cut it with scissors. So you may have to experiment with whatever you have available to cut it to fit your windows. But once you have those pieces fit and done, then you can put them in your window. And if it's a bright sunny day and the house is facing, that window faces south, then the sun is coming to the window, then you'll want to take that board out, because that heat from the sun can then come through the window and help warm your house. And then when it starts getting dark or the sun goes down, then you put the board back in the window. And you can do that. You can also put a piece of shower curtain across. You can get a large pieces of cardboard and do that. Now, if you're in a, like say an HOA, or you're in an apartment complex and they go, you can't put that in the window. We have to look all uniform and nice. We can't have you putting things in the window like that. You know, when I look at your window, I want to just see a window blind. Okay, so I put the blind down and I closed it. So you cannot see the cardboard, you cannot see the insulation board that I have in the window in my bedroom. Because the windows are like, this building's almost like 20 years old. So the little fibers that are between the panes of glass, like they slide together like this, back and forth. Well, there's a little strip of fuzzy stuff and it's like worn off. So the wind just pretty much blows through this little crack that's about that big, this space. And it's insane. They said they can't do anything to fix it. So I got the insulation board and the cardboard, and I also put a white blanket over it. So when they come into my house to do any kind of inspection or work or anything, they look at my window and all they can see is that there's no light coming through. And I just have like a little light white, like a hospital blanket, you know, that light, they're not real heavy. And I just have that nailed up there over the window. Well, my curtain in my bedroom, I knocked it down and I can't climb on the bed anymore to put it back. So it's just down, and maybe I can get one of my helpers to climb up there and put it up, put it back up. And so the middle bedroom has a shower curtain. This bedroom, this double patio door here has a really thick piece of a shower curtain, a heavy duty shower curtain. And I put that up and it fits perfectly, which I put nails at the top, and so it just fits, and it's like right down at the floor, so it keeps the cold air from coming through there. Plus behind the shower curtain I have another like light white hospital blanket, kind of blanket, and you know what I'm talking about, how they're kind of like a little flannel, but they're not real heavy. Anyway, they work great to cover your windows. And so I've done that. The other thing is check around your light switches and your electric plugs. If you're in an older house and it has insulation in it when it was built, what happens over time, because when they put the insulation in, they didn't have the things like they do now where the insulation is encapsulated in paper, right? And you staple the edges of the paper to the studs as up and down, right? To hold it so it doesn't slide down in the wall over time. And then over time you have like 2 feet of insulation at the very bottom of the wall. And above that, there's nothing. Just the sheetrock and then the outside of the house. So that can be another problem. But so you want to check your plugs and your light switches so that you can see, is there a lot of air coming through there? Well, if there is, and you don't have anything plugged in there, you can get those little child safety things that you put over the plug that keeps the kids from putting anything in there. You can put those in there. That'll help. They also have, you could put, I don't know what it's called, but it's very thin and it's foam and it sticks just like the stuff you could put around your front door to seal the air from coming in. And you can put that around the back of the plate that goes over, and that will help stop any air that's coming through there. But the better you can insulate your home, the better off you're going to be. Now, if you wind up in this winter and it's freezing cold, and we're expecting it to be very cold, and all the persimmons have been showing spoons everywhere that they've been examining and reporting on the seeds in the persimmons. A spoon, lots of snow. A knife, the wind is cutting like a knife. And then the fork is time to eat. No, I don't know. I can't remember what the fork is. Anyway, the spoon indicates snow. But it's important to make arrangements now and to think about things. And now it'll be a whole lot easier with the weather before it gets freezing cold for you to be working on your windows and your doors, because you're going to have your door open while you're putting the new stripping around. So you don't want to wait until it's 20 degrees outside and you have to have the door wide open to get the old stripping off and put the new one on, because you didn't take care of it now. You weren't proactive in doing it now, before it gets cold. So you can keep that door closed and the air is not seeping in around it. I had to get they put a wheelchair ramp in at my door, and it's like the diamond metal. And so when they just did that and then they left it. But the thing is that there was like this much space under the door and the wind is just blowing in. And the other thing is that any spider could just come along and come right in my house. And believe me, we get some really big spiders out there in the hallway. So I called the maintenance man and I told him about it, and I asked him, can you please come and put something, some kind of, gadget in there? So he came and he had a thing that is shaped like a U, shaped like a U. Oh, this is a brand new pen. Oh, there's something, the paper's wet. Okay. So there's a piece and it's shaped like this. And the door actually goes in here. So you open the door and you slide it on the door. And then you can use screws to attach it. But this piece is like this rubber piece here that seals the air from coming in. So that's what he put on my door, because of the metal threshold that was there. He couldn't really put a plate on top of that. So that's what he did. He put it on the door, which they make them ones that you can put on the door that have the little rubber that'll seal. But you want to make sure that you put it on there and then you test and see where you should mount it, that it's going to close. The door will still be able to close. It's not going to tear that rubber piece off, and you'll get a good seal. So once you determine with the door closed where that strip should be, you want to mark it, the top of that metal. So then when you get the door, and you start drilling a hole to put the screws in, you're not going to have a problem. You're going to fit just fine. And then you'll be good to go. I wouldn't put epoxy um, on that, to hold it. And I wouldn't try to duct tape it. But you know what? If that's all you got, go with it, right? Just roll with it, baby. We're going to have to be smart about, the things that we're doing with our energy. Because they're not going to pump gas. They're not going to pump any oil out of our ground. They would rather watch the people in Germany and in Europe freeze to death this winter rather than allowing them to have and my phone is dying, battery dying, rather than allowing them to be able to well, that was close. I was at 5%. Rather than allowing them to have the gas that they need, the oil there to refine, to make the natural gas to heat homes. They're just not going to have it. They're already they've been since last summer, they've been telling people how they can build a fire in their front yard to cook their food. You think they haven't been expecting this? Oh, they've been expecting it. They've been planning it. They've been facilitating it, and that's my true belief. My opinion. I don't have to back that up with any kind of, newspaper article or anything else. It's my opinion. I'm an American. I have a freedom of speech. So, anyway, the people in Germany are going to be freezing. Now, over in Germany, a lot of the land that has trees and would have dead limbs on the ground is private property. So you can't go in the forest there, property that somebody owns, and start cutting down trees and taking it for the firewood, which the cost of the firewood is astronomical. But this lady was saying that they could go in and they were taking the dead branches, which is a good thing because that helps eliminate the fire hazards, right? The things that cause the big blazing fires, like California, Gavin Newsom doesn't do anything to manicure the forest. He'd just rather let it burn. But they won't let them go in and take the dead wood off the floor of the forest, off of private property. Now, you say, oh, well, what about their national parks? Oh, well, their national parks are also considered private property. They have to get permits to go and get that wood that's limbs and stuff that have fallen down, or old trees that have fallen down, to use for firewood. And I'm sure they're going to have to pay for a permit, which I can only imagine what they would charge. Now, so here in America, what Joe Biden has done is he has sent as much of our reserves to Europe as he possibly could to buffer, to help them. And they've guesstimated how much gas energy we're going to need here for heating and cooking and hot water here in America. Their estimation, which, you have to look at, well, they arranged that the price of gas would go up so that you would use less. So I think we're going to go back to the 70s where it's going to be odd, even license plates. So on such and such day, if you have a license plate that ends in a even number, you can go get gas. If it's an odd number, you can't get gas that day. Okay, well, that's what we went through in the 70s. But the gas there may not be enough. You know, we see in the food plants burning down, these processing plants are burning down, factory where they produce fertilizer have burned to the ground. It's like a rash of fires. And the FBI is not even investigating it. I can't believe it. But of course, they can't leave those parents at the school board meetings unattended. They have to be there watching and making sure that those parents aren't sticking up too big for their kids. It's intimidation. It's pretty much what Germany did with the brown shirts, in World War II to the people of Germany. Intimidation tactics. And they've set a precedent with the what they call the insurrection of January 6th, which was nothing more than the guards inside opened the doors and let the people come in. They opened the doors like 20,000-pound doors that unless the guard inside, and there's video of the guard pressing the keypad and the door opening for the people, the American people, to come into the Capitol. And then there's video that shows the Capitol police or the guards there, whoever they were, just stepping out of the way and going like, come on in, to the people. Like, stepping out of the way and going, there you go on in. And they want to call that our insurrection. Anyway, they've had those people locked up since January 6th in solitary confinement. Solitary confinement is actually a psychological torture. And there have been some of the inmates there, some of the people that are being held that can't have any kind of visitation. They can't have any kind of telephone to call or talk to anybody. They can't have even their attorney come in and talk to them. So that's another, fear tactic, intimidation tactic to try to keep the people under control. You see what happens if you rise up against us. This is what we're going to do. We'll lock you up and throw away the key. And we'll keep you in jail for as long as we want. A speedy trial, you can forget about that. We don't play by the rules. So nobody wants to get up and say, hey, we need you to drill for oil. We need our own source of energy here. And we could give that energy to Germany as well, and France, and England. We could save Europe. But I think, according to Scripture, I think that they're wanting to destroy the Western civilizations because we're the ones that believe in freedom. And the New World Order doesn't approve of freedom or free thinking. You're only allowed to think certain things. It's like the censorship in YouTube or Twitter or some other kind of, social platform where you are limited as to what you can speak about. Like for instance, this, you can't talk about that because they'll, strike your video and get you off the internet for a week or 2 weeks. And then if you persist, they'll take your channel down and block you from coming back to YouTube. It's intimidation and control tactics that are causing people to fall in line with this, and to not say this word and not say that word. But anyway, what I was trying to get to was that the situation with the gas over in Europe, that the people have gotten wood burning stoves. A lot of them got those, in preparation because of the warning from last summer about how to cook meals outside in their yards. So they went and got themselves some gas stoves. Well, the price of firewood is astronomical, and you need to season wood. It needs to be dry, otherwise you burn it, and then there's creosote that builds up in the exhaust, and it can start what's called a chimney fire and burn your house down. And you don't ever want to do it yourself. You always want to have a professional come and install that. You do not want to do that yourself. Only have a professional install your wood burning stove. Okay? So anyway, but they can't get the firewood. They don't want them to go into the forest and just pick up the dead limbs off the ground and twigs. Oh no, you can't have that. Now, why not? Why not? It's good for the forest. It'll help the people stay warm and keep them from freezing. Or is it that, having them freeze to death is the whole purpose of not having gas and oil and heating? Is that the purpose? To have people die, freeze to death? I don't know. Pray to God that He provides a way for everyone to stay warm this winter. But that's why I'm saying that our reserves here in America, and I know I have some people that are not in America, but in other places, try to have alternative sources of heat to, make a difference in the way that you can stay warm. Put a little pup tent up and get in that, with a sleeping bag, preferably if you can put 2 people or you and your dog, for the body heat. You share the body heat, you can stay warmer. But do these things and prepare now. Don't wait until it's cold and then say, honey, I think that the strip around the door is just, really in bad shape. Look at all the air that's coming through here. Look, come put your hand over here. Look, you want to test it? You don't know what the door's doing? Get yourself an extension cord. Run it out the window. Get your hair dryer. Go to your door. Turn it on and blow the air from the hair dryer, and have somebody inside saying, oh yeah, I can feel that. Or, oh no, honey, everything's good. I don't feel any air. No, where are you? Oh, okay, no. And you're good. But you don't know you're good. And you don't want to find out you're not good when it's 20 degrees outside, snowing, and the wind's blowing. So get proactive and take the steps necessary to insulate and take care of stopping up all the places where the wind is going to blow and stuff, okay? Think about looking into flower pot heaters. Look into the heater that you can have a paint can, and you pull the center out of the roll of toilet paper, like here's my Kleenex. You just take this cardboard out of the middle of the roll of toilet paper, and then you bend the toilet paper like this, and you shove it down inside a quart paint can. The paint can, you want to make sure it does not have any kind of lining in it, that the inside looks like the outside of the can, that there's nothing in there that can burn and put off a toxic fume. So once you put this inside the can, then you're going to want to take either 70% rubbing alcohol or 91% rubbing alcohol and pour it in slowly so that the toilet paper can suck it up, soak up the rubbing alcohol. And then once it's good and saturated and You have the rubbing alcohol is just, let's see, I'm trying to look, see, just that little bit of alcohol above the top of the toilet paper. And then you can light that and it will burn. Now, if you take a bigger can and you cut some holes in the bigger can on the side of it so that the air can go through, then you can set a pot on top of the bigger can. The smaller can will be inside burning, and the holes that you put in the bottom sides of the can that you have will allow the air to come in and keep the flame going. So then you can cook that way. Be very careful with that. Do it on your stove top so that you're in a situation where if something happens, you have a lid, that you can put over the top of it to smother it. It's to put the can out with the toilet paper and the alcohol in it, you can just slide the lid back over and it'll put it out. It needs the oxygen. If you cut the oxygen off, it won't burn. Okay? Do not light those up and leave them unattended. Do not light them up and go to bed. They create and make carbon monoxide. So you must have, and you definitely need, a carbon monoxide detector. And if you don't have one, you need to get one. And I have one right here a minute ago. Oh, it fell off the other side over there. Okay. Oh, no, it fell off over here. Carbon monoxide detector. You really have to have this. Okay? You need the one that runs on batteries. The ones that run on electric, what will happen is it will run on the electric. Now, if the power goes out, it'll start using the batteries until they're out. But if you buy the one that uses batteries only, then you don't have to worry about if the electric goes out, because then it'll warn you about the batteries. And it takes more batteries, to work. And then you need to test it periodically, like that, to make sure that it's still working, it's still doing its job, and you don't need to put more batteries in. So you need the one that you can use, an electric one, and then you need one that's a battery one. That way you're never without the carbon monoxide protection. Okay? You also need fire extinguishers. Whenever you're messing with fire, you need fire extinguishers. Okay? You need sand in a bucket. That will help. Grease fires, do not ever put water on a grease fire. Do not ever put water on a burning wax fire. You will create a fire bomb and it will burn you severely. Okay? Because your face is right there. When that fire rolls out, you're going to get blinded. And you don't want that to happen. So, if you close your eyes and it burns your face, just imagine that. Never put water on a grease fire. Never put water on a wax fire. Say you're making candles and you're melting the wax on the stove. But, oh, the baby is screaming. Oh, and you run to see what the baby is screaming about. You get there and it's just a bug, but you've left the pot of wax on the stove. And you come back and all of a sudden it burst into flames. Carefully remove it from the fire and put a lid over it. Never put water on it. There was a man my neighbor, his next door neighbor where he used to live, he smokes. So he was outside smoking, and he came back up the balcony, and he had to pass his neighbor's, curtain in his living room, and he could hear the smoke detector going off. And so he knocked on the door, and the guy didn't answer, and he's like, So he starts trying to see if he can see in the curtain. And he sees that there's a fire on the stove. And the guy is on the sofa, and he's like knocked out. So then my friend really just started pounding on the door. And he got the lady and the baby that was next door to that out of the building. He called the fire department. Finally got the guy up off the sofa. The guy goes, "Oh, wow." He's freaking out. "Oh, man." So he takes the pot with the hot wax. And it's snow all over the ground outside, right? So he takes the pot and he takes it out of the apartment, down the stairs. He sets it in the snow by the tree. Then he picks up a handful of snow and throws it on the wax fire. A firebomb as high as a 30-foot tree. It went all the way up in the inside of that tree, because he put the pot down underneath the branches of the tree. And when he threw that snowball in that wax, it made a fireball that went up 30 feet up through that whole tree. It's amazing it didn't catch it on fire. But had that been in your house, your house will be on fire, severely on fire. And grease fires are the same way. They will make a firebomb that will roll out across your ceiling, and it'll touch your cabinets. And the crazy thing is, cabinets in the kitchens, they put like varnish or polyurethane on the cabinets to protect them, right? Highly flammable. And the next thing you know, your kitchen is on fire. So get a fire extinguisher. Learn how to use it. A lot of people grab their fire extinguisher and they're pulling on the handle and they're like, "It's broke, it doesn't work, it's not." There's a pin you have to pull out. And then you can squeeze the handle and the spray will come out. You don't want to spray the top of the fire. You want to spray the base of the fire, the part that's causing the flames. So that's how you want to do it. Look it up online, how to put out a fire with a fire extinguisher. There are different types of fire extinguishers. Most of the ones that are like in apartment buildings, they're A, B, and C. So they take care of several different kinds of chemicals, okay? Chemical fires, gasoline fires, regular fires, So, but you want to check and see, can everybody in the house pick that thing up? Because those great big ones, you might go out and go, "Yeah, that's what I want. I want that big one." Well, when you struggle to carry it to your car, think to yourself, can my wife pick this up if I'm not there? Can my kid pick this up if I'm not there? Is my kid going to be able to use this in an emergency? Think the size and who will be able to use what size fire extinguisher. Train everybody on how to put out a fire the proper way. Go down to your fire department and talk to them. Make it a family outing. Call and talk to the captain down there at the station and ask them. Say, if I bring my family down, can you show us how to put out a fire the proper way and how to use our fire extinguishers? We're talking life and death here. These things, freezing to death, burning up, these are life and death things, okay? So, got that point across. All right, let's see. What else? you're going to want some things that are easy to heat up. Hot chocolate, tea bags, instant coffee, things that you can, just heat water and make something. Those little packets of noodle soup, you tear the packet open, you pour it in a cup, and you pour the hot water on it. The little styrofoam cups of noodles, soups. Yeah, that heating water, you can make a lot of different kinds of food. So, and that would be really easy to do with an alcohol burner. Go online and look up alcohol stoves, and there's all different kinds. And there's a guy, he's called Sun Desert 2, I think is his name of the channel. And he makes all kinds of cool things, like do-it-yourself air conditioners when there's no power, and different kinds of heaters, and different kinds of ways to make fire and heat up your house, and make a fire and put a little like a fan that goes in a computer and hook it up, and it blows the heat throughout the room. Oh my goodness, the guy's a genius. He works at one of the big box stores like Lowe's or Home Depot, so he has access to all these different things. And I'm thinking he must be walking around the store thinking, what can I use that for? Or he thinks of something he wants to make and he goes, oh, that, I bet I can use that. And so he makes these things, and it's amazing. And he tests them for safety. So go check him out. But do it now, guys. Do your things for winter, for, keeping the cold out of your house, insulating your windows, so that you have a way to stay warm if the power goes out. That you can create a heat source. Alcohol burners, flower pot candles. I want to tell you this. If you're going to use those clay terracotta flower pots, you do not want to bring them in cold from outside. You do not want to bring them in if they're wet, because they're porous. And what will happen is the water will get inside the pot, in the terracotta itself. There's little tiny spaces that the water can get in there. Now, you create a heat, and you start heating it up, and that water in there is going to expand. And depending on how much heat you put in there, excuse me one second, depending on how much heat you put to it, as to how big of an explosion you're going to get. An explosion, or is it going to crack and shoot the fire everywhere? Do not use wet bricks or wet flower pots. They must be dry, completely dry, for you to use them, to use with any kind of heat source, okay? And because we don't want to create anything that's going to cause more of a problem. We want to be safe in the things that we're doing. We want to think about it. Google it. I mean, don't Google it. Go to YouTube and search for alternative heat sources. Okay? And then a lot of times, if you're using like the little buddy propane heaters, those canisters last about 3 hours. I want you to keep that in mind. And that they also create a lot of humidity. So it's going to get the house really wet. And it's going to be, a mess. So, you're going to have part of a window open. So with your styrofoam in the window, or your, plastic shower curtain, you're going to need a way to have a window open some to allow that moisture to get out and that the carbon monoxide will get out. And then your carbon monoxide detector should be able to tell you if you're in a situation that's dangerous. The thing about carbon monoxide is that it is odorless and it is invisible and it is extremely deadly. Most people die in their sleep because it slowly takes your oxygen away and you go to sleep and you never wake up. And it happens every hurricane. Every time there's a hurricane. In Louisiana, they have the old wooden houses. They're built up off the ground. They put the generator outside by the house, close enough that the fumes from the generator start getting in underneath the bottom of the house, coming up through the walls and under through the floor, and it gets into the house, and the occupants in the house, they can't smell it. If they're asleep, they'll never wake up. So you have to have a carbon monoxide detector. And your gas generator, your propane generator, you want to make sure that is far enough away from your house that any fumes that are being put off from that, any carbon monoxide that's coming off of that generator is not going to be getting in near your house. Well, how am I supposed to know that? Take this baby outside, put it by the side of your house, turn your generator on. If it goes off, the generator's too close. Move the generator further away. The other thing you'll have to do is pay attention to which way the wind is blowing. Is the wind blowing it under the house? Toward the house? Is the wind blowing it away from the house? Now, unless you're going to sit up all night and babysit which way the wind's blowing, I suggest you test and make sure that you got that generator far enough away from your house, or that you close up the space, the crawl space under your house, so that that carbon monoxide can't get in underneath your house. The other thing is that carbon monoxide, if you have your generator too close to the house, can go up. And you know those vents that are in the eave of your house? There's little like triangle squares that lets the heat out. Well, it also lets carbon monoxide in. And carbon monoxide will come in, settle down, and kill you. So it's not a joke. Anytime you are using anything that burns fuel, you want to make sure you have a carbon monoxide detector. You have the heat going to preserve life. Have this going so that the life you're preserving is protected. And, you know, if you have ideas or if you have things that you do that help, you with your house, keeping your house warm, then please put it down below. Another thing is, during the day, it's not as cold as it is when it gets dark in the winter, right? When that sun goes down, then you can really feel the drop in the temperature. So if you're going to be cooking dinner, I would suggest you be cooking it when the sun is going down, and that heat from the stove you're cooking is going to put off heat that's going to help warm your house. So don't waste that heat. Don't cook at 12 o'clock during the day. 12 o'clock during the day, you should be fine. It's when it gets dark and very cold that you're going to want to think about making your dinner when the sun is going down so that it heats up the house. Because, after, you go to work and the kids go to school and you come back from school or whatever's going on, and you get home and then everybody's hungry, so you make food, right? And then it's not long when you don't have power and everybody's like, I'm going to bed. There's nothing to do. So you go to bed, but you've warmed up the house enough that your bed isn't freezing cold. You know what I mean? The other thing, there are bed warmers. Hot water bottles are the best. And Danny and Wanda at Deep South Homestead, they have sweaters they put over their hot water bottles. So they fix their hot water bottles and they fill them up with the hot water, and then they put these little sweaters over them. And then that helps hold the heat in so it warms you for a longer period of time. And when it's really cold and you have no heat, do not send your child to bed alone. Don't do it. There were people in Texas that let their kid go to bed in their bed by themselves. Kids sleep like so hard. And so he went to sleep and he froze to death in his sleep. We can't let these kinds of things happen. We have to prepare and plan for this. That kid should have been in bed with another kid, and they should have both been in a tent that contains that heat, that body heat, and creates a microclimate of warmth so that they're, really warm. And I probably told you guys this last year, but I'm going to tell you again. I bought a 3-4 man tent, and it fits perfectly on top of my queen size mattress on my bed. And I tested it out without the heat. And it was cold in here. And Annie and I went and got in the tent on the bed. And I had blankets, galore in there. And we woke up and she was panting and I'm sweating. So just be aware. You don't want to get sweaty when it's so freezing cold, because you can get a chill then. So just keep in mind that when you're in there, you're creating body heat and it's staying in that tent. And so you may not necessarily need all the blankets you would have on you if you were not in that tent. Okay? So what I would suggest is, have like 4 or 5 blankets in there, and, pull a blanket up, till you feel like you're warm. Oh. If you're still cold, then pull up another blanket. And you wait a little while, and then if you're still cold, you bring up the next one and the next one. And then when you feel yourself warming up, like when you go to roll over, you're like, oh, it's getting hot in here. Then take that first blanket and roll it back, So that you're the thermostat with your blanket on or blankets off. And so that's how you can control the temperature and your comfort level in your tent. But during the day, if you have absolutely no power, no way to heat anything, and the kids, their hands are like getting, like especially little ones that you can't get them to keep a glove on their hand to save your neck. And their little fingers are getting so red, and you can see that, when cold hurts your fingers. And their little fingers are so tiny, And so if you put them in the tent with the other kids, and they're in there and they're playing, Barbie dolls, or they're playing with race cars or whatever it is, or they're playing a board game, whatever it is, if they're in there in that tent together, they're creating body heat and warmth. So don't overdress them when you put them to bed. Then before you put them to bed, early, a couple of hours before you go to bed, right? Then go check them and see, are they too hot? And you'll probably go there and they'll have all the covers kicked off because they're so warm. But these are the things we need to be planning and thinking about now. The other thing is, in all the things that we're trying to do for our own family's survival, there are the homeless. The people that, some people choose to live on the street. They do not want anything to do with the government. They're maybe military, and they don't want anything from the government. Some of them are mentally ill, and they can't maintain a house. They can't maintain a house, so they live on the street. And they just live that existence because it's easier for them to do that than to try to conform into, okay, this is what society says you have to do. And then in order to have that, you have to do this and 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 this. And sometimes it's just too much for them. And they'd rather live on the street, which I just talked to a man last night. He said, it's just too much. I can't handle it. And so he's in a shelter. He's going to the shelter at night. And we haven't even gotten to the freezing temperatures yet. But people that are on the street, think about when you're out in the cold, how your feet get cold. If you don't have really good shoes and you don't have really good socks. If you see socks on sale somewhere, pick them up. If you can afford to pick up a pack of socks, pick them up. They come 6 in a pack usually. Tube socks are the cheapest. Even little crew socks are, welcome. Something that's a dry sock. You don't want your feet to be wet in the cold. So you can roll those socks up, put them in a Ziploc bag, get the little paper bags, put them in a paper bag, write a little piece of scripture you can put on there and stick in there an encouraging note. Depending on what your situation is, do you have any money you can put in there? $1 for a cup of coffee, $5 for them to get a hamburger, and then, or maybe you could just throw in some popcorn. Pop some popcorn and throw it in there with the socks. So they have popcorn and socks. And they, whatever they get, they're very appreciative. Most people see a homeless person, they walk right by them like they're part of the wall or the sidewalk or whatever. They're human beings. And a lot of people are losing their homes now because of the economy. So many places don't have the parts they need to create the products that the company sells, so they're having to cut back on the employees. Well, what would happen to you if your income suddenly stopped? How long could you stay in your house? Are you prepared to pay cash for your housing and stuff, your bills? Do you have that kind of money put back? Most people don't. Most people in America are living paycheck to paycheck, chasing the American dream, trying to keep up with the Joneses. This is the devil Oh, look at all these earthly things. Oh, look at these glittery jewels. Oh, look at these really nice clothes. Oh, don't you look good in that? You would, oh, that would be so pretty on you. Look at those shoes. Yeah, you got to have the shoes. Oh man, I want to get a brand new phone. They just came out with a blah, blah, blah. Think about where you're spending your money, please. If you're having coffee out, think about how much that costs. I understand they cost about $6 now for a cup of coffee. $6, $7, and you can get a container of coffee that would last you about a month, making a cup every morning. So, what you're spending for one coffee in one day, you can buy the coffee and the creamer for what you would pay for 2 days of coffee. So think about ways that you can save money and still enjoy the things that you like. But do think about the homeless, and do think about if you were able to help them in some way, some fashion, some manner. I mean, maybe you could buy some tortillas and make some cheese quesadillas. Cut them up and put them in a bag. You know, if it's not hot, and you're hungry, it doesn't matter if it's hot or freezing cold. You're going to eat it because your stomach's telling you, feed me, feed me. I'm so hungry, I can't hardly stand it. I don't feel good. You know how you feel if you don't eat. And fasting can make you feel like that too sometimes. But, if you're out there and you keep having those days that you have nothing to eat that whole day, a cold quesadilla is like a steak. It's food. It'll fill your tummy. It'll put something in your tummy, even if it doesn't fill your tummy. We can't save everybody. Jesus said we'll have the poor with us always. But do what you can, when you can, because you can. And so, socks are a really big deal. Now, if you wanted to try, if you had extra money, you're still working, you got a good job, you got money coming in, your house is paid for, you don't have any bills hanging over your head, and you think, I've got about $100 here that I can do something with. What should I do? Well, little kids in the shelters need underwear and socks. They may need a coat. They may need gloves. They may need a hat. There's a couple of ladies that make these really nice knit hats, and then they take them to the shelter for the homeless to have these warm, really warm hats. It's amazing how much heat goes out through the top of your head. So that's what they were doing. Me, I want to do bags with socks in it, popcorn, granola, something that I can put in there, even a pack of saltine crackers, for them to have something, a clean pair of socks to keep their feet dry so their feet don't freeze. And, something, a snack that they can eat on. I want to do things that I can just toss to people as I'm passing them, if I drove, I would have it where I could throw it right out the window to them, But I'm in my wheelchair, so I will just take what I can take and go down in the middle of the day. And I'm trying to think how I can make a pot of soup and take it with me. I know one time I had my big stock pot, and I had made chicken noodle soup, chicken and rice soup for my daughter, She was sick with the flu. And then the other ones got sick. So I made this great big pot, stock pot, of soup. And then I have it and I'm like, okay, now the soup is done and I'm in this wheelchair and how am I going to get this soup to them? So what I did was I put the pot in one of those like grocery carry-in bags, and I sat it between my feet on my wheelchair, and I held it there and went 2 miles with that pot. So I'm thinking, shouldn't be a big deal to go around the corner and get on the train and, go down to Salt Lake City with that pot of soup. It should still be hot. And I have some paper bowls I can take. And I don't have spoons, but, hey, they can turn their bowl up and drink, that soup. So, I'm thinking they would really be happy with that, right? With a hot bowl of soup, vegetables and chicken in it. Man, I'll tell you, if you've ever been in a hurricane, and I know how the people in Florida are suffering, the stores don't have anything in them. You're just really wanting a meal, a good meal. So that good meal, when you haven't had a good meal in a while, it's like heaven sent. And so if I could go